What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Hey, BALLBUSTERS, Bates here with your friend and mine, Ray Mungus. And we are all doomed.
It's got a death curse!
On episode 21 of Way of Life Live. How are you doing tonight, Mungus?
Apparently I'm doomed. That's what I hear, at least.
You can't be that doomed. I didn't have to wrangle you this week, and you didn't have to wrangle me, so we're doing a little bit better than usual, huh?
It came very close to that, though. I just spent the last 24 hours with, like, the most debilitating migraine / nausea / fever and hot chills and all that good stuff.
It's got a death curse!
Yeah.
Feeling better, though. Feeling better.
See, I'm going to be abusing my Ralph button tonight. Sadly, Mungus can't hear it, but he said you got a death curse, too, so...
Apparently. I need some sort of audio cue, you know?
Yeah, I gotta figure out a way that you can hear what I'm playing on my end. So I am going to be abusing that button now that I've added it.
Yes.
But so you're
gonna be
doing
unstable.
you're doing better now?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't necessarily think it was like a sickness type of thing. It was just a really bad headache that I let go a little bit too long without eating or taking any Advil or anything like that. And then before I knew it, I'm bowing to the porcelain god.
Oof, those are rough ones.
Yeah, it was brutal, but you know.
And I would tell you, it's, you know, maybe you were dehydrated, but I know how you fucking down water, so that probably wasn't the case.
Yeah, honestly, it quite possibly was that. You know, add in a mixture of like lack of eating. I was working yesterday with it, and you know, by the time I got home, it was just gone a little bit too long, and I'm like, okay, let me sleep this off. And then when I woke up, it was just, you know, I got hit full force with it. But you know, thankfully, it's pretty much gone. It's subsided. I don't have a headache anymore. I'm feeling a little upbeat, you know, a little tired, but you know, that's the way of the world.
Well, that's pretty good. I've been cooking for like the last 2 days. My parents come home tonight from
right on.
they're snowbirds. So they're coming home from Florida from the nice warm sunny weather, and then Tao is leaving tomorrow night for Vietnam with her client. So it's like the only time the family is going to be able to get together for a while. So I'm cooking a big Italian dinner. Like what would normally be like a Sunday dinner, I'm cooking it for tomorrow night so we can all get together and eat. And I've been
That sounds good. You guys are gonna eat around the podcast equipment or what?
it's all packed up.
Oh man, so I have questions for you, but I'll save those for after.
Yeah, I got all that shit packed up. Yeah, that was fun.
I can imagine setting it all back up is going to be equally as fun.
It shouldn't be too bad. You know, with the audio interface, there's very little tweaking I need to do with that, so it won't be too bad. I just got to figure out how the fuck I'm gonna set it up here. I don't know if I want to try to do it in the actual kitchen, or if I just want to move some shit into the slightly more spacious living room, and we just kind of just all sit around the living room.
I mean, that could work. It could be interesting. And
I mean, the living room does have more than enough space. I mean, there can be two people on the couch. I'll be in my computer chair monitoring and managing everything from the computer, and then somebody just got to sit in a kitchen chair. We just got to, drag that in.
Not it.
Oh my God, I'll do it. It's literally 3 feet.
I'm just saying, I want the couch. I helped create all this crap. Somebody else could. Let's put LR on the kitchen chair.
No, I'll take one for the team. And yeah, you put together a lot of crap, and I put on my end, I put together just as much, just in a
Oh,
different aspect.
I'm not knocking you.
No, I know.
I'm knocking in the other two.
Yeah,
the lazy
seriously.
bums.
Fucking
Who haven't been
slackers.
on Way of Life Live since like October, by the way.
Fucking slackers.
Seriously.
I gotta start putting together remember the DO piece I was talking about a few weeks ago? I gotta start doing all the research for that for one of our podcast episodes.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many things that I want to like.
I got another good
research
idea.
and get going.
I got another good idea for a main metal discussion as well.
Oh, right on. Sweet. I'm not gonna tell you here though. You guys got to go over and listen to fucking MBH already.
Yeah, seriously, episode 3. Go give it some more fucking views, man. Listens, rather.
Yeah. And our best episode's coming up with episode 4, whenever we decide to drop that.
Yeah, whenever I decide to finish, editing it all together. Actually, the base editing is done, so that's the hardest part. It's just a matter
That's
of
good.
me just adding in all the bumpers and fucking all the filters and shit.
That's not too bad.
No,
I'm thinking maybe next week we'll release that.
Yeah, I think that would be good, because if everything goes well on Sunday, we should have another 2 episodes in at least 1 episode, maybe 2.
Yeah, and episode, what is it? 5 and 6 are going to be me at probably my worst, because I'm going to try to wrangle working in the morning and then going to your house to record. Hopefully I could get the bulk of the writing done on Saturday when I'm off.
I'll just get you a big ass coffee. You always like those.
That'll work. In fact, I'm going to drink my coffee now.
Yes, I am currently drinking a Voodoo Ranger IPA from New Belgium, my favorite brewery, despite it being bought out by Budweiser. It's okay. The beer so far has not changed. It is. They've actually been putting out a lot of really good Voodoo Ranger offshoots. I got a new one. Remember, we had the Voodoo Ranger Red IPA for the 1 episode.
Yeah, that was episode 3. You would know that if you went and listened to it.
Which is probably have been my favorite, but they've been putting out a lot of really good Voodoo Ranger IPA, other IPAs. I got one. It's called Juicy Haze. Comes in 4-pack of 16-ounce cans. Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, I got to try that.
Good luck finding it or affording it. It's one of those beers.
Yeah, they're good for once in a while, though.
Yeah, splurging a little bit every now and then is not too bad. All right. So let us get into it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's get into it. Enough with the niceness and pleasantries and bullshit. Let us jump into horror news this week. All right, so first up this week in horror news. Have you guys ever wanted to own your own, life-size good guy doll? I know I never wanted to. I remember growing up, I had a fucking... I didn't have it. I think it was my brother's. But we had a My Buddy in our bedroom, and it used to scare the ever-loving piss out of me. So I don't want a good guy doll. But there's plenty of other people who do.
I had one of those too.
Oh, you had a My Buddy?
Yeah, they were pretty great. Like I liked the thing up until I saw Child's Play. And then
exactly.
I was like,
Everybody did. Everybody did. It was like My Buddy was the thing to have. It was the same thing with like Cabbage Patch dolls, and then you saw Ghoulies, and I always kind of put the two together. The one Ghoulie, the one like main Ghoulie that's on all the VHS covers, the green one, kind of looks like a deformed Cabbage Patch doll, in my opinion. So,
I never made that connection, but goddamn, you're right.
it's probably the bald head, honestly. But
Yeah, I hear you on the whole my buddy thing. Like once I seen that, I was just like, this is going in the attic. By the way, I also didn't want to go in the attic that for other reasons, but good lord.
But yes, life-size good guy dolls are now up for order. From who is it? TrickorTreat?
Yeah, TrickorTreat Studios is putting out. And like if you're a fan of Child's Play, you need to own this thing. I mean, it's terrifying, but you can't really think of a better collector's item.
It's quintessential. It is that centerpiece item, short of an actual screen used prop, that will really round out your Child's Play collection. It's like a authentic, screencast molded hockey mask for a Friday the 13th collector. That'll round out your collection, the centerpiece of your collection. And that's what these life-size good guy doll replicas are.
And they're being made from the mold, right? The original screen used mold.
Are they? I didn't
That's
even.
that's what I'm reading right now. Every detail of this doll is made from actual screen used molds, including the clothing, which was replicated using actual screen used swatches. Like the detail being put into this thing is insane, and like seeing what they actually look like, it makes the $500 price tag a little easier to swallow. And I'm really considering getting one.
Yeah, it's like I look at a $500 price tag nowadays, and I laugh.
Look at this baller right over here.
Yeah, baller. It's like more like dumbass. It's like, oh, what is this? A $400 Thanos figure?
Yeah, let's do that.
Nothing. And then what happens? About 2 years later, a $1,200 Thanos figure comes out, and it's even nicer and bigger, and I want it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to add a life-size thing to my collection for a long time, and that sounds weird saying, but like I've been really considering trying to find like one of those store mannequin type deals and starting to build a life-size figure of sorts. Like I've been considering doing a Jason, doing a Freddy, Michael Myers. I haven't decided on which one I want to do exactly, but I wanted to slowly build towards having like a life-size replica, like a living replica of sorts. Buying the screen type of mask, that people make, the custom masks, the custom clothes, and just kind of having like a really nice centerpiece like this. And looking at this good guy doll, I'm like, this might be a good way to like put my foot into that direction.
Yeah, I mean, all collectors need to have that one big centerpiece item in their collection. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just something that'll draw anybody that happens to be in that room, and they see it, and then boom, that's like your conversation starter.
Yeah, without a doubt. And up until this point, my I'd say my biggest centerpiece item, aside from like my signed hockey mask, would be probably my actual replica Freddy glove. And it's small centerpiece. I want to go big.
Yeah, I don't have any big centerpiece items either. I mean, I don't have like a centralized collection. I mean, most of my stuff nowadays is more Marvel than anything. But I guess if I had to say anything was the centerpiece of my collection, at least my favorite piece anyway, it's obviously my Godzilla art.
Really, I was going to suggest that your whole Night Owl hockey mask is a good centerpiece.
It is a good centerpiece. I mean, the flesh mask is one of Jason's original. Jason is the guy who runs and makes all the masks for Night Owl Productions. If you're looking for good latex masks, find his site. And I've had that since, God, I think I bought that in my first Monster Mania. So
yeah, a long time ago.
a very long time ago. I actually bought that mask from Ben from Fright Rags, who was selling the stuff for Jason.
Yeah, I remember that they had the dual table.
Yeah, but Jason wasn't there. Yeah, he wasn't there.
No, I know.
So Yeah, no, I love that piece, and now I have my mask completed. I have Richard Brooker signed on one side of the mask, and I have Ted White signed on the other side of the mask. The only two people I ever wanted on it. I have that finally done. But I don't know. I just maybe because it's my favorite piece. It's just that Godzilla art. Maybe because I watched it get made, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's a hell of a piece. Like my saying the whole Friday the 13th thing being a better centerpiece wasn't like a dig at that. It's just like as far as a horror collection goes, that's a really impressive piece. But additionally, that Godzilla art is like I'm still jealous of it, having like sat there watch it being made and watch you purchase it.
Yeah, that was a rough purchase.
Yeah, I can imagine, but it's still amazing nonetheless. We'll have to tweet out a photo of it just to show the listeners what it looks like. It is incredible.
Yeah, it was great, and it survived the fire. And I actually had a firefighter go into the house after they put out the flames, but we weren't allowed in the house because it wasn't structurally safe yet. They didn't know what was going to collapse. And I actually had a firefighter go into the house, and I told him exactly where to go, and he came out and he brought it out to me.
Yeah, like that was like one of the first things that I thought of when I mean not one of the first things. I asked if everybody was safe, and then I was like, is the painting safe?
It happened to be in a spot that like a couple of my walls in the basement got flooded with water, but there was like one or two walls that didn't, and that happened to be on one of the walls that didn't. So it was safe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few miracles in that whole situation, and I'm glad that was one of them.
But back to what we were discussing. So yeah, so life-size good guy doll. It's got a hefty price tag. It's about $500, but the detail that they've put into it is pretty intense. I mean, they've gotten the detail down to like the smallest fine, detail. Um, like on the bottom of the shoes, they actually have all the like I guess you could call them like cookie cutter cutouts on the bottom of the shoes that have like all the tools. Like I think there was like a hammer and a little power drill. Um, anyone who's seen the first Child Play movie knows what I'm talking about. When Chucky ran through the flour, and you could see the imprints of the shoes through the flour. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I mean they've gotten those details down on the soles of the shoe, on the bottom of the shoes. So it's like they really put a lot of love and passion into making this replica as screen accurate as possible from the original movie. So
Yeah, it's really impressive. Just looking at all the details alone, it honestly makes it super worth it.
so yes, Trick or Treat Entertainment. If you have $500, go ahead, treat yourself.
And I just wanted to add one more thing to that. This is being done through Kickstarter via TrickorTreat Studios, and you could basically order it through there and pledge it through there. And um, it appears that the only one available currently is the $500 one. There was a Friend Till the End pledge package that that had the doll being made using screen used materials, like actual leftover pieces and things like that. Had a signed Kickstarter certificate of authenticity from Brad Dourif and the art director Justin Mabry. Various things. But one other thing that's very cool is the Kickstarter rages on despite reaching its $100,000 goal so far with 624 backers. They have unlockable perks where you could get like the knife, like a voodoo knife that will come with it, a box used from the actual, like screen prints and everything like that. Just go to the Kickstarter site and you can see all the stretch goals that are being released and try to hit them. I mean, if they hit these goals, you're going to be getting these additionally with the Good Guy doll.
Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. If you're a big Child's Play fan, I mean, it's definitely a piece I'd want in my collection. I just can't. I have other things I'd rather spend $500 on.
Yeah, I feel you.
But I mean, it's hard to look at and not wanting to buy it. It would probably scare the shit out of my wife.
It's also probably like half the size of your wife.
Yeah, that's pretty close. All right, so moving on. We finally got a trailer for The Meg.
You could call it the right word.
The Meg.
I really don't like that they called it The Meg. Like, I get it, but it's... Why couldn't they just use Meg? Like, is it that difficult? What did adding the to the title really accomplish?
I don't know. The book was named Meg. In fact, I think Meg was the sequel book. I think the first book in that series was actually called The Trench. I remember reading it when I was really small. Well, not really small. I was like a tween. I was probably like 11, 12 years old. And my father had finished reading it, and I asked him what it was about, and he told me. I was like, oh, whoa, big ass shark? Cool. And I remember reading The Trench, and then he showed me the second book, which was Meg. So, yeah, they could have just went with Meg, or obviously The Trench. But The Trench was a completely different story. I actually think it took place on like the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Yeah, these books pretty much evaded me growing up until I heard Eli Roth was kind of like dabbling in the possibility of directing the movie. I was like, oh, what's this all about? And then I heard it was book related and all that, and it was one of those titles that I've never heard of. And when I looked into it, I was just like, oh, good Lord, give me this movie now.
Yeah, it had been stuck in like production hell forever.
Yeah, the longest time.
So, when I heard that it was finally getting made, I was very surprised.
Yeah, it took me a while to kind of like dive into it because of mostly the production problems. It had a few directors come in and out the door, and then it looked like it wasn't going to happen anymore, and then it was going to happen again, and like who knows what direction it was actually going to take.
Well, we finally got our trailer, and I gotta say the trailer it didn't look great, but it definitely did not look bad.
Well, I'm going to say before we dive into the trailer, the posters they've been releasing for it are amazing.
Yeah, they've got some good marketing in terms of posters for it right now.
Did you see the Jaws one that was out? It was amazing. I want that on my wall, even if this movie sucks.
Yeah.
But one thing about this movie that I will say is when casting started to get announced, I was just like, okay, I'm checking out. I hate what's his face?
Jason Statham.
Statham. Whatever.
Statham.
That asshole. When you put him in pretty much any movie, I want nothing to do with it. And maybe they put him in it for overseas sales. Because he's one of those guys. He's like the.
He's a name.
Yeah, he's a name, but like I don't know. He's just one of those guys that just takes me out of the movie. He's not a good actor. He plays the same character in pretty much everything, and I don't know. Like I hate when he's in a movie, and the trailer kind of showed me that he's not going to be terrible in this. I don't think.
It looks like at best they'll be tolerable.
Yeah, like I watched the trailer, kind of ready to roll my eyes, and I was like, okay, I could dig him in this role. Like he has a suitable role for once.
You see, what I like is the fact that for the past, I don't know, 2-3 years now, we've gotten like a big name shark movie every summer.
And it's about time. Like, I'm so sick of that drought that we had. Like, like as much as I don't want a Jaws remake, I was like, where is my Jaws movie? Give us a sequel. Give me a reboot. Give me something. Like I want that franchise to come back to life. And even though I haven't gotten that wish, we've been getting it elsewhere with other movies and other movies that have been pretty great. I still have to check out that. What was that one that you watched at Monster Mania?
47 meters down.
Yeah, 47 meters down. I still have to check that out. But the shark movies have been on point for the most part. And this one, I don't necessarily hate to say it, but it looks pretty decent. I'm gonna have fun with this, I think.
Yeah, I liked 47 meters. I thought it was a pretty good movie. Obviously, I like The Shallows more.
Yeah, The Shallows is really, really fun.
But this movie looks like it could be a good time, but it looks like it could also kind of borderline sort of like silly sci-fi, territory.
It has that little bit of that in the trailer, but it comes off like they might be marketing it that way to try to bring in some of the fans of like Sharknado and all those other weird shark sci-fi movies. Maybe we saw all of the comic relief in the trailer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're just being way too optimistic.
Yeah, I am. Only because I've been caught off guard by this movie. I was really excited for it, and then Jason Statham got put in it, and I was just like, all right, there you go. It's gonna suck. But I don't know. Like, it seems like it's gonna be a fun time, and maybe the comic relief in it won't, sink it.
I don't think it's gonna sink it, but I think it's gonna be a bit more prominent than what you have set aside in your head right now.
But you know what, man? I don't necessarily mind some comedy to it because you can only have so many overly serious like shark type movies, and we've gotten a handful of those. Like, give me one that borderlines a little bit more on Piranha. Like Piranha remake was brutal, bloody, all sorts of stuff, and it was also hilarious. So, and it worked. So if it's more along the lines of Piranha rather than Sharknado, then we might be in for something decent.
Yeah, at least the first Piranha. The second one was a bit too...
Oh my god, the second one was just cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed watching it, but I was like, good lord, what happened?
That's what happens when you get too much of a good thing.
Very true.
Which is what Piranha was. Piranha was just the right amount of a good thing.
Yeah, I
It was
agree.
that stupid, silly gore horror movie that has been missing from theaters for years upon years. And we finally got it back. And then they doubled down with Double D.
I like that setup. That was good.
And it doubly failed. There's no other way to say it.
Oh yeah, and honestly, there was no topping the original. Well, not the original, the remake of Piranha. After that, what was it, like 7-minute fucking carnage that was filmed in that movie? It's like 7-minute shark attack. That was probably one of the most bloody things I've ever seen in a horror movie.
But I mean, they obviously thought, Ving Rhames with shotgun legs was gonna save the sequel. Yeah, no, that's not gonna save anything.
Yeah, like it was so weird that they went that far out. I mean, like, I know going straight to DVD, usually you tend to lose a bit of the quality, especially if it's a sequel to a movie from a theatrical release.
Unless you're a Child's Play movie.
Yeah, that's very true. Like you lose a bit of the quality going in, and you're like, okay, well, maybe it's not that bad. And this one basically went full-on grindhouse / full-on original Piranha as far as cheesiness. Dare I even say the original Piranha was more serious than the sequel to the remake? That's so weird to say.
Yeah, no, I definitely. The original definitely took itself way more seriously than the Piranha remake sequel.
Yeah. Like, go figure. But that was a good movie too, by the way. If you haven't seen the original Piranha, you definitely need to check it out.
Was that a Joe Dante film?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen it in so long, but definitely a fun little flick.
Yeah, definitely. I remember going to pick it up on Blu-ray with Chris. Like when we heard that was coming out on Blu-ray, we were just beside ourselves. This is back when we would spend hundreds of dollars every Best Buy trip on movies, and we went for a special occasion to go pick that bad boy up, and it did not disappoint.
But so we finally got our Meg trailer, and I was happy with it. I was hoping for a little bit more, but it did not disappoint me. I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more footage from the movie, and I will be there opening weekend to finally see this flick. I've been looking forward to it for a very long time. As I said, I was a fan of the book series. So I think so far it's gotten a pretty positive reaction. I think a lot of people are into it and are looking forward to it. So it should be a pretty good summer if this movie is as good as it looks.
Yeah, I love the mainstream reaction to it. It seems like it's already taken off in a big way. People are very excited. They're talking about it, and if this movie is very successful, it could launch a bunch more shark and like underwater type movies, and that we necessarily haven't gotten in bulk in big ways in a long time.
No, let's not oversaturate.
No, but you know how the general Hollywood works. Something works, and then everybody goes crazy with it. But it's been a long time since we've gotten many shark and monster movies of this nature. So I don't know. I'm just, maybe it's just me being a little too excited about having a slate of good shark and underwater type movies like at my disposal. It's been a while.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from, but it's that kind of niche genre that you do not want to oversaturate. One film, maybe two a year, and we're good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
You don't want to go to the sci-fi route and have mega colossal shark versus sharktopus and cyber shark versus crocodon and
Oh, I think my cousin's getting all excited if he's listening.
all of those fucking ridiculously shark versus octopus versus alligator movies. It's like all right, enough's enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just like seeing these movies represented on screen and the public being excited for them, because it just, I grew up watching Jaws, and I'm in that point where it's like, oh fuck, man, we're gonna be seeing some more shark movies, and that's awesome to me.
Yeah. As I said, give me one good shark movie a year, and I'm a happy guy. Gives me a good reason to stay out of the water every year.
Fucking A.
All right, so next on the list for horror is A Quiet Place, which was sort of a quiet release. The marketing was very limited for it. It wasn't no oversaturation on the marketing end.
I came across a lot of it through word of mouth. Like, the word of mouth was super organic, and coming out of the festivals, this flick just it was like a wrecking ball. Just everyone talking about it, everyone saying it's one of the scariest movies that have been released, and it's a must-see movie. And that's how I heard about A Quiet Place. I didn't see any commercials for it or anything like that. Then again, I don't watch a lot of TV, but like you said, it was a very quiet release, and what happened as a result is crazy.
Yeah, the marketing seemed to ramp up a little bit, like a week before release. That was honestly, I had heard of the movie prior, just from being in like the horror circles, but I never looked into it, and I never gave it a second thought. It wasn't until about a week until release that I started seeing a bit more here, a bit more there, started hearing a little bit more about it, started getting some early reviews on it, and then it kind of like it sort of clicked. Like, hey, this movie might be more serious than I originally thought. When the movie came out, been getting very, very good reviews, both critics and fans alike. And this weekend, it pulled in over $70 million at the box office, giving it the #1 spot on the box office, dethroning Ready Player One, and in its first weekend alone, it has turned a massive profit. This movie had a production budget of about $17 million. It's already turned out $70 million in its first weekend. That is a massive, monstrous success that spells good things for the horror genre in general.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the fact that, like you said, the production or the promotion rather ramped up in the last week or so, or 2 weeks before release. It's insane how it caught on in the way it did. Like, I've never seen something like this catch fire so quickly.
Dare I say, the promotion was quiet?
Dun, dun, dun.
It's got a death curse.
Oh, you.
Yes, oh me. But it really was. And I like it. I'm a sucker for good promotion, good marketing. Some of my favorite marketing, and we're always going to go back to Marvel and comic shit, but some of my favorite marketing has been the Deadpool marketing, and especially the Ant-Man marketing. It's just marketing and promotion will turn any non-believer into a believer just because it's like, that shit's clever. That's clever. You got my attention now. You didn't before, but now you do. And I think kind of waiting until a week before release helped this movie, helped push it. Like you're going all these months not really knowing about this movie, and then all of a sudden, you're being told in 5 days this ridiculous horror movie's coming out. Oh, whoa. The fuck did this come from? And then the fact that, critics loved it. Critics hate horror movies. They hate them.
Oh, with a passion. Fiercely.
But, seeing that critics loved this stuff was a major win. And I linked an article I wrote for Dead Entertainment, a small, short article. But in it, I said that I believe this movie, on top of other movies like It that had a monstrous, box office, and Get Out that was just amazing in its own right, that these type of horror movies are showing that they have legs, are showing that they have profitability on small budgets. 17 million in terms of today, in the Hollywood of today, is peanuts. Now, a true to life, maybe not true to life, that's the wrong phrasing. A true to genre horror movie and slasher movie does not need a $17 million budget. A solid slasher movie, if done in the vein of a real 80s slasher movie, could be had at 10 million or under, and could easily, if again done right, could easily turn a profit, just like A Quiet Place of 60 or 70 million on an opening weekend. This is the prime time for whatever fucking studio owns the rights for Friday the 13th right now. I don't even know. Is it Paramount? Is it fucking Lionsgate or Platinum Dunes? I don't know. But right now is the prime time to fucking get on the ball and get a new Friday the 13th movie made. The audience wants it. They're loving horror movies again. The critics are being a lot more generous to horror in general. You know, whatever studio, I think it's Paramount. Whatever studio has those rights right now, they should not blow this opportunity.
Not only Friday the 13th, but pretty much any horror franchise at this point, and original stuff too. Because like, take a look at A Quiet Place. I don't think it's based on anything, or it's not a remake of anything, or you know, like these horror movies that are coming out from both sides of the fence, whether they're remakes or they're original pieces. They're coming out swinging in a huge way, and the results are unprecedented. So now, if anything, is the best time for horror to really take a shot. Studios to go out and find these unproduced scripts that have just been collecting dust for years. Tap those writers, tap those directors with these original ideas, put the same sort of marketing arm into them, and profit. You know, and not only that, not only will they profit in that, us horror fans are going to profit in a huge way too, because we're finally getting something other than remakes, something other than ghost movies that are just, you know, being done to repetition. And we're finally getting a new age of horror. This could lead to something relatively huge. And once again, you know, as done in the previous years of the horror history, horror is carrying Hollywood when Hollywood's like only making superhero movies and stuff like that. But horror's carrying it on its back once again. And time to take advantage of that. Time to put some of the future greats out there into the horror world as far as stories goes, and you know, like usher in a new age.
Yeah, more than ever right now, we need more of this wonderfully brilliant original horror, and we've gotten it. We've been spoiled the last year or two with it, but it can't end. It really
I agree
can't.
completely. I mean, honestly, it's there's so much of it out there. So much of it just getting passed up because people are focused on what sells, or they're counting the numbers and saying, "Oh well, this is never going to have this sort of result, so why bother making it?" The studios that have been taking chances, like on a first-time filmmaker like Jordan Peele with Get Out, or you know, the Quiet Place right here. Things like this need to be put out there and need to be made because that's what's selling right now. And I don't know how this keeps escaping Hollywood executives. You know, this is a proven thing. It's time. The time is now, and it's time to take advantage of it.
Well, let's hope that studios feel the same way we do, and they start jumping on this. I mean, it's only going to take, as I said, between $10 and $15 million thrown at a what's the word? An ambitious director and writer and filmmaker, and you know, with that $10 to $15 investment, they could you know, spin gold. They could spin an easy $100 million profit or more, depending on you know, what this filmmaker does with it. But it just goes to show that horror is a cheap genre that can make money.
And it's always been like that since the 80s. I mean, like, they call New Line the house that Freddy built, you know? And if you look at, you know, previous histories, like with Miramax and the Weinstein Company and things like that, every time they have these artsy pictures, Oscar grabs and stuff like that just fall flat on their face, you see a trend of them going back to make the low-key horror movie to get that money back, you know, because it's an easy, quick $30 million, you know, and you know, it's tried and true. You know, they know that they could always go back to that well, make a quick profit, and go back to making what they want to shove down your throat. But it never fails throughout the course of cinema that horror is always a strong point. And why it's considered like the redheaded stepchild is beyond me. So I'm kind of glad that we're in this age where these executives are waking up and saying, "Oh, remember that crazy genre that we all hate and critics hate? You know, well, it's making money now. Let's start doing more of that."
Yeah, you know, on one end of it, it's sort of hypocritical, but on the other end, if it gives us more quality horror like this, you know what? I'll fucking eat it. I don't care.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Honestly, they could think of it with their wallet all they want, as long as we're getting good movies out of it. Fuck it, let's keep them coming.
So, sort of transitioning into one of our two main discussions tonight. A rare night where we kind of have two main discussions. With this Friday being a Friday the 13th, we decided it'd be a good idea to have a Friday the 13th main discussion. Now, obviously, there's no Friday the 13th news we can discuss. There's no new movie being made at the moment. There's no rumblings. There's no rumors. There's no nothing. So we kind of have to, go back to the well and think of something from the original movies that's going to work as a discussion topic. And tonight, it is basically what made the bulk of the sequels, because I'm not going to say all the sequels, because that's not true, but what made like the main bulk of the sequels better and more successful. Well, I shouldn't even say more successful, but just better than the original. Whenever somebody looks at a long-standing franchise, it's always the original is the best. The original is the best. It always is the best. But in Friday the 13th, that's not really the case. Now, the original is a good movie. It's got a lot of issues. And then, you get movies like Part 2, especially Part 3, especially Part 4. I think Part 6 is probably like the universally most favorited of the series.
7's fun, and then it just goes all downhill to the remake.
Yeah, well, downhill for some people, not for me. Well, at least Part 8 was bad, but
yeah,
everyone here knows how I feel about Part 9. But if you look at it, you have at least 3 sequels that almost every fan will tell you they love better than the original, and that's Part 3, Part 4, and Part 6. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot say Part 2 is better than Part 1.
No love for Part 5?
Part 5 has its place, but I don't think it has its place in this particular discussion.
I agree. I would separate that entirely, almost like Halloween 3. But it's such an awesome movie, and I'm glad
it really is.
Some people are starting to find it like they did with Halloween 3, which makes me a little excited.
It's just because that film was so universally hated and just the redheaded stepchild of the franchise that it really can't be added to this particular conversation.
I agree.
I'm talking about the main sequels that were loved. 2, 3, 4, and 6. I'm not going to add 7 because telekinesis makes 7 really silly.
Yeah, I agree. When I first seen that when I was growing up, I'm like, what the fuck happened? And like I was all angry about it, but then again, I'm like watching a movie where Jason keeps coming back to life, and I'm just like, telekinesis, that's silly. Like, we have a monster that's coming back to life over and over again, and I pick a fight with the telekinetic.
Well, if you want to get technical, he didn't technically die until the end of Part 4.
True, but at this point, we have Jason that came back to life being via a lightning strike. Like there's some logic in there that I was accepting over logic that I wasn't.
But so I mean, how is it that a movie, Friday the 13th from 1980, it didn't invent the slasher genre? Obviously, we had Halloween before that in 1978, and Black Christmas, and Mario Bava's Twitch of the Death Nerve, Bay of Blood.
all of the what is it? What the hell are they called? Italian giallo movies.
Yeah.
Consider a lot of those the the grandfathers of the slasher genre.
Well, I consider Bay of Blood the original slasher movie.
Yeah, I agree. But like before Friday the 13th, there was a lot of history that kind of like inspired where Friday the 13th actually the marks of Friday the 13th eventually would hit.
Yeah, I agree. So
Falling asleep, bro?
no, I had a yawn, but like a yawn and hiccup kind of combined. It was awkward.
A little bit.
So it's like we had slasher movies before 1980, but for some reason, Friday the 13th just resonated with fans and people, and blew up.
So weird to me that the genre existed and was healthy prior to the Friday the 13th, and that's the one that caught and lit the campground on fire.
Hell, Christmas Evil. I mean, that was
yeah, that's another good one.
Years before the slasher genre was a genre, really, and we got a Christmas slasher movie again, and this was years before Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's just the right place, right time sort of mentality. Just like we were just talking about with the horror hitting big right now. You get the right place, right time, the right movie, and that's it. The rest is history.
I guess, and so this Friday the 13th comes out in 1980 and just blows up theaters, absolutely blows them up. Makes a ton of movie on a measly little budget, and fans absolutely love it. And then they start churning out sequels every year. We get part 2. I think part 2 came out, I don't know if it was 81 or 82. I mean, I'm pretty sure part 3 came out in 83. I'm pretty sure part 4 came out in 84. But the sequels kept getting churned out, and it just seemed like fans were just loving the sequels more and more than they loved the original.
See, I can appreciate the original for what it is. I happen to really love the original, and because it was one of those movies I've seen as a kid, and it caught me off guard. I played into every beat of that movie. So when the iconic finish happened, you're just like, you're left with, the biggest shock on your face. But I think the reason the sequels are a little more creative and more universally loved than the original is because the original was simple. The plot was very contained. The history was all there. It wasn't overly convoluted. So that gave a great foundation for every filmmaker afterwards to build upon. And Lord did they.
Well, I'm wondering, like maybe it also had to do with the characters, the meatbags. I don't know how else you would call them. The Jason fodder.
The jocks.
All the death fuel. Basically, they kept evolving and growing more personalities and more uniqueness. In part 1, there's no character that stands out. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, and we have Kevin Bacon in that cast. There's nobody that stands out. And I love it.
That's a really good point.
And I love Adrienne King. I think she's a sweetheart. I've met her plenty of times. She's absolutely one of the nicest people in the world to meet. She's just an absolute sweetheart. No other way to say it. But let's be honest. I mean, even as the first survivor girl of the franchise, she doesn't really stand out. She doesn't come off as strong but then again, that's what you want in a survivor girl. But there was nothing impactful.
Even by the end, her journey to become that strong survivor girl was more about luck than it was, empowering herself to finally take on the killer. It was just, oh well, here's my opportunity, and I'm not going to be a pussy, and I'm not going to take it. You know, like she rose to the occasion, but the journey to it was a lot less than the other survival girls in the future sequels.
Oh, yes, without a doubt. I mean, you can almost instantly see the difference between Alice and Ginny from part 1 to part 2.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um, and that's you know that's the I think the big difference was the characters just kept evolving and kept drawing you in. You know, there was nobody memorable in part 1. Um, then you had maybe one or two, characters you sort of remember from part 2. And then obviously you get to part 3 and 4 and you got characters like Chuck and Shelly, you fucking from part 3, and then, Ted and Crispin Glover's character from part 4.
Yeah, all of which are very memorable. And this, like, I know we're talking Friday the 13th, but that era of cinema during the 80s with all the major tentpole movies, most of those characters were very, I don't know, like they were very well written. And it's something that like today's horror genres, slasher movies, whatever you want to call it, can't sort of replicate. They try to emulate what happened in the 80s, what these people did in the 80s, but they can't hit the same notes that Friday the 13th, kill fodder or whatever you want to call them, hit back then. It's really weird that they can't reach that point.
Yeah, it just seemed like the writing evolved more, and they were fleshing out characters a little bit more, giving them more personality. And I think what was holding the original back, not that it was a bad thing, especially for the time, it worked, was they wanted to make this movie, obviously a slasher movie, a horror movie, but also a mystery movie. And so they were only able to do so much with the killer because they didn't want to reveal anything until the very, very end. So they were super limited in what they could show and how they could show it. So a lot of those, death scenes for the characters were very just simple.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely they were definitely restricted. That's a good point.
And you then you get to part 2 and part 3, and at that point it's like, well, especially like let's just go on to part 2. You get to part 2 and well, it's obviously not Mrs. Voorhees in this one. Kind of makes sense. Maybe it's Jason now, and they're able to kind of do a little bit more. And then come part 3, it was just at that point there was nothing left to hide. All the mystery was gone, so then they could just go balls to the wall and give us everything that they wanted to give us.
I think it goes back to what I was saying about the first one being simple, being the foundation of the series. Like when you build a house, you put the concrete down first. You don't really see it, but that's the strongest part of the house, and it holds everything together. And as you're building upon it, you start to see the real image come through. Like it's fully realized at that point. And I think that's why the sequels, the sequels were able to have a little more freedom, or as they had a little more freedom, you were able to see what truly the series was intended to be.
Yeah, the first movie, and to a good degree, the second movie was, let's face it, like I just said, they were being held back by the mystery. Come part 3, there was no longer a mystery, so the restraints were off. Wow, I've never really thought about this before until like tonight discussing it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool that there's still like areas of the series that are left uncovered or aren't necessarily talked about as often.
And I'm sure we could really dive even deeper into this. I mean, this is actually a really, really great topic for such a an iconic franchise that's 40 years old, that you don't
Now,
hear a lot of people talking about it in this particular way. But in the what's the word I'm looking for?
a bigger scope of things?
No. In the I had too many beers tonight. In the interest of time, that's what I was. The interest of time, where we'll have to pick up this discussion another time.
Wait a second. If there was only another time this week that there was a Friday the 13th where we were possibly doing something to continue this topic. God, one of those things this week.
I thought I had something going on, but
It's got a death curse.
I don't know. Maybe if I remember.
If I happen to have a Saturday off where I could join and talk more about this on a Friday the 13th, maybe we could do that. Oh wait, I do.
It'll definitely be a good conversation to continue, especially getting into a few more of the other sequels. But I think we really kind of hit the nail on the head. It was the matter of the characters evolving and becoming more memorable, and the franchise and the story not being held back by the mystery of the characters anymore, by the killers, I should say, the mystery of the killers.
If you want to hear us elaborate more, we are definitely doing something this Friday on Bates' stream. We'll talk more about this topic, and I actually want to dive into part 5 a little bit in connection to this topic, because this whole mystery scenario that we're bringing up,
it comes back.
Exactly, and 5 managed to hit the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It wasn't held back by the mystery, but the mystery was still there, which is fucking cool. I never thought about that till we started talking about this, so we should definitely elaborate a little more this Friday.
I know, it's like all this new shit.
Oh my god. Get us talking about Friday the 13th. All the other stuff is going to have to get canceled.
I know, if I had a microphone I could drop, I would drop it right now, but I'm not dropping my headset. I like
Boom. I'll do it. I'll sacrifice.
So yes, we will continue this conversation on Friday. But right now, we are going to go ahead and get into some geek and comic news.
It's got a death curse.
Fucking Ralph. Gotta just squeeze him in everywhere, doesn't he?
Where did you put him?
right at the end of the geek bumper.
You got the Avengers theme, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
All right. So, this was some news we were going to talk about last week, but we ran late, so we pushed it off to this week.
And we're running late today, but we're not pushing it off. God damn it.
No, we're actually doing pretty good. Because some of these are pretty quick, few minute discussions. So right now we're doing pretty good. The X-Men Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants delayed until 2019. Because
we kind of knew about that for the New Mutants, but X-Men kind of, I guess it caught us off guard.
I actually kind of thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought New Mutants was going to come out because the trailers were getting very positive reactions, and I figured Dark Phoenix would have gotten pushed back and possibly just shelved indefinitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors swirling around this, because a lot of people are erroneously assuming that it's because of the Fox/Disney deal. But what I've read about the Disney deal is it could take upwards to 2 years to actually go through. So why would they want to shelve movies they've already invested millions of dollars in the course of the next 2 years while they could be releasing them. Unless it's part of a clause within the Marvel movies where they have to, be released under the Disney banner or what have you. It comes off really odd that the X-Men universe is just being shelved for an entire year. Deadpool is going to keep the seat warm for now, but at the same token, these movies were on the hinge of coming out, so it's bizarre that this news happened.
Yeah, it's sort of worrying and worrisome that they're getting, they've been done for about a year now, and they're getting shelved for another year, which is not a good thing. These are movies that could end up being shelved, like I just said, indefinitely. I mean, these are movies we may not see for 10, 20 years when they decide to put out a fucking Blu-ray of it for whatever reason, or they do a documentary on it, and
I don't think it's gonna be that extreme, but like it's really concerning when you shelve your tentpole movie. Like the New Mutants one, push it a year, it's a new thing. I get that. Shelving Dark Phoenix, which is arguably one of the bigger stories in X-Men history. That's and not only that, but you also have the Game of Thrones star at the head of the movie. So Sophie Turner, right?
yes.
Yeah, like you've got all your pawns set up to really take out the box office, and you're like, let's release it next year. And no other news beyond it's delayed.
Yeah, but the thing is, you delay it for a year. In 2009, it could be the end of 2019, so it could nearly be 2020 at this point.
Yeah, true. They might wait till May.
And the Marvel deal could be either close to completion or, completed at that point, which means, Kevin Feige and the powers that be over at Marvel Studios might take a look at these movies and be like, yeah, we don't want these to have anything to do with our universe. So good effort, guys, but yeah, I see that garbage can over there. You can just throw those in there. It's very possible something like that could happen depending on when in 2019 these movies are delayed.
I'm looking at the news right now, and it looks like they went with safe bet of having X-Men Dark Phoenix come out February 14th, 2019. They're pulling it away from the summer release schedule, which doesn't bode well for me.
Well, I mean, February has been better than it used to be. I mean, with Deadpool being released in February and Black Panther.
I agree, but it also seems extremely safe, for them to retreat to a non-competitive weekend. They could own February, but if they release that in May, they'll be 1-2 weeks tops, and then they're out. Especially if the movie's not very good.
It is safe, but it's also smart. Like if you think about it, Deadpool kind of resurrected February as a month for movies.
Agreed.
And then Black Panther came along, and it was like, oh, Deadpool, you did good, but fuck you, I'm gonna do better. And Deadpool's at fucking Black Panther's at 1.3 billion right now.
Sure.
So it's like, these movies, these Marvel comic book movies, have made February a profitable month for movies when
That's
it
very
was
true.
when it's always been the worst month of the year for any type of big releases. You'd always get shit releases in February. Goofy, shitty rom-coms because of like Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you make a good point. Every release date on the schedule that I'm reading seems safe but smart. I'll agree that it's smart, except for Gambit in June 7th, 2019.
That movie's not getting fucking made.
I was about to say the same thing. That's just going to keep getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. New Mutants has moved to August 2nd, 2019, which is extremely smart in my opinion, because if it has horror elements, it's going to pretty much like I personally I would have released it a little closer to September because it's got that fall sort of atmosphere. Halloween's right around the corner, and what a better way to kind of like introduce this horror-ish superhero type movie. But either way, August 2nd is safe but smart. And then supposedly X Force is going to be happening in 2019 as well, but we don't have any dates on that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna I won't say I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I'm just gonna not get invested in X Force yet.
Well, they're setting it up in Deadpool 2.
Oh, I know.
So I think that's going to be the next tentpole type of movie. I think Dark Phoenix is going to wrap up that era of X-Men movies, and X Force is going to take the reins.
But
Personally.
I think it's, because of this Fox Marvel merger, possibly happening now. Um, you know, they're not going to get super invested into any other future sequels until whatever happens with this merger happens. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a valid point.
that is just my personal opinion. There's nothing I have that's backing that up. It's just what I think would be good business for the people at Fox. You don't want to throw too much money at writers and producers and all this stuff, trying to get another sequel or a movie off the ground, and then your company gets bought out by Marvel, and then they say, fuck you, we're not doing that. And then all that money and all that time is wasted. So I wouldn't get too invested into any future sequels until we know a little bit more what's going on with this merger.
I agree. It's going to be an interesting to watch everything take place because I don't think we've really seen anything quite like this where Marvel is actively making movies and they're trying to incorporate these characters and these franchises into their slate while Fox is trying to continue to do business and play it safe and all that. So it's gonna be like I don't know, it's just gonna have this interesting sort of vibe to watch all the cards fall into place.
Yeah, it definitely is. Um, so moving on, I'm gonna let you just go ahead and just take this one real quick. I need to go check something I have on the stove, and I need another beer. So,
All right, fair enough.
yep, go for it.
Alrighty, it looks like we're going to be getting some familiar casting. Well, we're getting some casting, but familiar faces in the upcoming Captain Marvel movie. It just recently begun production, and not a hell of a lot has been known about it, with the exception of Brie Larson playing the main character, Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, and Jude Law he's rumored to be playing the original Captain Marvel with the name of Marvel. Recently, they basically announced that a couple more people are joining the cast, and in the name of Clark Gregg, who is familiar with the series as Agent Coulson. He plays the main character in the show on ABC called Marvel's Agents of Shield. He basically was killed off in the original Avengers movie, and they brought him back to life via movie magic, and he has been leading the 5 seasons of Marvel's Agents of Shield. So what they're doing is they're bringing him back into the fold because this is going to be kind of a prequel to the Marvel movies that have been taking place over the last 10 years. I believe this movie takes place in the 90s, so it only makes sense that he would still be in the sort of character that he was, pre-Iron Man and everything like that. Another interesting thing is Lee Pace, who is the main villain in Guardians of the Galaxy. He played Ronan the Accuser. He is going to be returning to the series as the same character, which is pretty interesting to me because, like we have Ronan the Accuser's character. Basically, his story is told in a very confined sort of way in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's pissed off, and he, like you have a reason as to why he's angry, but you don't necessarily know his backstory. In this movie, he's going to kind of be putting on this sort of, I don't necessarily know which route they're going, but we're going to be told a lot more history on what Ronan's all about, and I believe it's heavily Kree related, right?
The Miss Marvel movie, yes, because Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel. I mean, same character, but
Pretty much.
Captain Marvel, her Carol Danvers, because there was the original Captain Marvel in Marvel,
Who's
but
rumored to be in it. I just mentioned that. Jude Law is rumored to be playing him.
but Carol Danvers, her her origin heavily revolves around Kree and Kree technology and Kree experimentation. So the Kree playing a major part in the movie makes complete sense.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's like I said before, it's going to be really cool to see Ronan before he was this like lunatic terrorist. I'm curious to see what kind of character he's going to play, how he's going to play this character that is already known to the Marvel fandom, but in a way that's maybe what 10, 20 years before what happened in Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, it'd be closer to 30 because
You know,
Captain Marvel should be taking place in the 90s.
okay, so yeah, 30 years. So I'm sure there's a lot that has happened that ruffled his feathers, between the Captain Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy.
What I want most from Captain Marvel is some type of I would love a few other cosmic character cameos. Quasar, Captain Universe, Nova. I would love to see something from some of these characters.
I'm curious how much cosmic we're actually going to get. How much of this is going to take place on Earth, and how much is this going to take place elsewhere?
I guess it depends on who the big bad of the movie ends up being. But
Any rumors on that, or
none that I've seen.
I guess.
But the thing is, you got to think about it like this. This movie obviously takes place in the MCU, takes place partly on Earth and in the 90s. But it can't really be in any type of populated area or nothing major can happen on Earth because you would think they would have talked about it in further Marvel movies. Characters would have made mentions of it, or the events for the movie.
Yeah, just in the same way that the Avengers movie is talked about as the first showing of alien life and stuff like that. The only thing I could think of that might change that is this takes place in the 90s. You have that government conspiracy, like when they cover things up and stuff. You have that was big back then. Like you had all these conspiracy theories and shit like that. So if something were to take place on Earth, and them having military background and stuff like that, Shield probably being well established at that point. I think a lot of what could happen on Earth could be covered up in that way. I personally prefer them that things get taken off our planet and make it interesting and give us a really give us a spectacle to look at. But there are still options for big things, big events to happen on Earth.
Yeah, I can see that. It makes sense. I just still think it would have to be in just a little area that has, just very insignificant.
Yeah, I agree. I really hope that Captain Marvel bridges the gap between the Earthbound heroes and the cosmic heroes. Like I really want them to bridge that gap sooner than later.
Well, what I hope one of these movies fucking answers at some point is where Captain Marvel was during, the New York incident.
Very true. She could be off fighting baddies in space.
That's the only thing I can think of that's gonna, make sense and just make sense. I don't know.
Oh, I mean,
I don't know what else I was trying to say there. Makes sense.
In Kevin Feige, I trust. He's not going to go into this movie, which I hear he's a big Captain Marvel fan too. So I don't think he's going to go into this movie and say, okay, well, we're going to leave gaping holes in the plot and the continuity. I think this movie took as long as it did to get off the ground, not because women can't lead in the box office or anything like that, but I think because they wanted to get it right, just like many of the other movies. And with them kind of kicking in the door with each movie that goes forward, they seem to be making the best use of their time when it comes to putting these things out.
Yeah, I have to say I'm looking forward to it big time. I actually plan on, I gotta find the right one. I want to get a nice Captain Marvel statue. I just don't know what statue I want and what hairstyle I want because Carol Danvers goes through a lot of hairstyles.
Yeah, I've been wanting to add one to my collection, but it looks like I'm going to be getting a Miss Marvel statue.
Oh, Kamala Khan.
Before I get anything else. I'm in love with that friggin' character. The character is amazing. From the very first issue that they put out, I was just blown away by the connection it makes with the readers. I know we're getting a little off topic, but like Kamala Khan starts out as a comic book reading kid that wishes she could be a superhero, and she gets that wish. And there's no comic book fan out there that hasn't felt that way reading a comic book growing up. Like I wanted to be Daredevil or Toxic Avenger, see the chemical problems here. Like I want to get chemicals poured on me, I guess. But no, everybody could resonate with that. It resonates with each of us. And my God, they've not had a better or more imaginative character in a while. So I think I'm going to be adding one of those to my collection.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Kamala Khan. I think she was a very wonderfully written character, and she's just getting better and better. And she actually was teamed up with Lockjaw for a little while, so that was pretty cool in the comics.
For sure. And there's been rumors going around that might be one of the next shows. I originally I heard Netflix, but we might be getting it in one of the major networks. I would totally be down for a Kamala Khan TV show. I mean, that would be a good way to like keep her grounded and keep that sort of level idea.
But her powers are really effects heavy. So
I agree. That's why I'm really hopeful that it stays far away from ABC after the whole Inhumans incident.
Yeah, I still haven't watched Inhumans. I actually still need I need to catch up on the last season of Agents of Shield. I haven't watched that yet. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But right now
I'm hearing it's amazing.
That's what I've heard. Right now all I'm focusing on TV wise is the New Warriors.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Squirrel Girl. All I care.
Yes,
all I care about. I was just thinking about this the other day. Chris was so mad when he found out that there was going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy movie made. Like, so just angry about it. Like, we actually got into like a serious like argument over it.
I remember about that. That was a hell of a friggin' discussion.
And I had told Chris that, opening day of that movie, there's going to be a ticket bought and a seat saved for you right next to me. And you're going to come and you're going to see that movie with me. And he was so mad at the fact that these characters, a character like Rocket Raccoon was going to be in a big budget movie. I can't even imagine what he would think right now, knowing that Squirrel Girl is getting a TV series.
Yeah, he's definitely rolling over somewhere. Let's put it to you that way. Oh man, I remember how pissed off he was about Rocket Raccoon, and like he's fucking stupid.
We're sitting there in Anthony in LR's fucking backyard, drunk at a barbecue. I'm arguing Rocket Raccoon's the fucking best, man. He's a foul-mouthed raccoon with a big-ass gun. And Chris is like, he's a fucking rodent. Why is he in a movie? This is stupid. We're going back for like 30, 40 minutes. It was magic.
Yeah, I mean that's all you could really call it that, man. I mean it was wonderful to witness, and I loved pressing those buttons down like a little bit at a time in future conversations. Just to get him slightly riled up about Rocket Raccoon, just to start up the fuel again.
Well, we don't know what he would think about Squirrel Girl. We can assume what he would think, but I love Squirrel Girl. I actually just bought a beautiful Squirrel Girl statue. I can't wait to unbox it.
Yeah, that Squirrel Girl statue actually is going to be the same company, I believe, that made the Miss Marvel statue.
It's a Coda?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, no, they're great pieces. They're a bit more, they're more anime inspired and look wise, especially in the eyes, but they're great pieces.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was a little worried about that, but they did a really good job on Kamala. So I might actually have to get that Squirrel Girl as well. We'll see.
All right. So we are going to dive into the second headlining topic and the ending topic for tonight's show, which also happens to be a pressure rising segment.
It sickens me to watch you. All I ever do is cry and do my best to kill you because all of you must die. And although I created you, I have always hated you. Fuck this place.
Got a death curse.
So, I believe it was last week, a story broke. It was a story about Stan Lee. A very heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, and upsetting story about Stan Lee. It was a very well-written, and I say this never about anything coming from Hollywood Reporter, but a very well-written and, dare I say, passionate piece, basically titled Stan Lee Needs a Hero. And what this article dove into was reports of elder abuse against Stan Lee and all of these people kind of plotting against Stan Lee to rob him of his money and his wealth and his estate any way they could, and a lot of it having to, stemming from his own daughter.
Yeah, a lot of these details weren't known up until recently. This particular article is what kind of opened up the door to who is plotting against him. There's been a lot of weird concern for Stan Lee in the last month. There was reports from TMZ that he had gotten sick with pneumonia, and then after or before then, there was reports that somebody took out a loan in his name and bought a condo, but they couldn't necessarily trace it back. And then all these comic book creators on the internet started to address concern for Stan Lee and what the exact problems were, and there's so many issues going around, but they were being really hush-hush about the details. They were only letting so much go out into the world, but they were like, look, if you pray, if you are concerned, keep Stan in your mind. And he just lost his wife not even a few months ago. I forget what she passed away from, but in any case, they were pretty inseparable. So this is pretty much the worst time for Stan Lee, and the Vultures just kind of swooped in and are doing their absolute worst. And it wasn't until this Hollywood Reporter piece that the doors kind of got kicked open, and it was revealed that allegedly his 67-year-old daughter, his memorabilia manager, and a few other people, I believe his handler, which a lot of people were defending, but there's a bunch of people within this trying to take advantage of an ailing and sick and 95-year-old old man to to get his riches and his wealth. And Good Lord, does it make me sad, and it makes me pretty fucking angry.
You know, I read this story today in its entirety. I was sitting there at work, and it was tears were welling up, and I'm reading this, and all I'm thinking of, and I know you're not going to be able to relate because you're probably not familiar with it, but as I'm reading the story about Stan, all I'm thinking of is what Groucho Marx went through in the last couple years of his life with Aaron Fleming, and
Elaborate.
um, basically Aaron Fleming was this woman living at Groucho's house. It's just like sort of his girlfriend, sort of his money manager, handler. She tried to have a million titles, and in the last couple years of Groucho was really just rough in the last few years of his life. As Gilbert Godfrey would like to say, old Groucho, old Groucho was just he was hard to talk to. He was just hard to be around, just because it was sad, you know. He was really a mere shadow of his former self. And this woman, Aaron Fleming, who is very much just like what J.C. Lee, Stan Lee's daughter, is like. She was very manipulative.
Manipulative.
Yes, I've had a few too many beers tonight, but
It's all good.
manipulative. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to say it again. Fuck that.
That word.
Yes.
It's got a death curse.
Ralph's got it right. And she was that word, and doing whatever she could to get more money from Groucho, and whether that meant signing Groucho up for appearances or one-offs or even roles that Groucho didn't want to do or that he couldn't do. That basically the end of that is, because I could go on for quite a while about that particular story. Basically, at the end of that was Aaron Fleming. It was pretty messed up in the head. She ends up pretty much killing herself. And from what I was reading about J.C. Lee, Stan Lee's daughter, is she's very, very similar to Aaron Fleming in how she acts and how she talks and how she presents herself. But also at the same time, it's like you're reading how she's doing and how she's acting, and she's acting like a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old woman, and then you fucking find out that J.C. Lee is 67 years old and acting like a spoiled teenage brat.
What's insane to me is the fact that she probably had a good life being who Stan is. You know what I mean? Like, I doubt he's gonna like hold his daughter to like a life of poverty or non-privilege or something along those lines. Like, it seems to me that the life she lived was relatively good. So why even go further than this? Why go and be this manipulative and try to pull all this crap? And from what I've read from other people, Todd McFarlane, for example, there's a lot of people like plotting against him and doing exactly what you were saying happened to Groucho. Like, as you were talking about the whole Groucho situation, I see the parallels almost entirely. And like signing him up for Comic Cons and signing him up for this and that and everything else. And it's just like, wow, the situations are really similar. And coming from a 67-year-old person, and Lord knows how old everybody else is, it's like, why do that to your old man? Like, why do that to him now at 95 when he probably has a will where you're going to get most of it anyway. He doesn't have a surviving wife or anything like that. Why risk all of that this second, in his life? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just pure greed and disrespect for a person that gave you a comfortable life. It's sickening to me. Again, it's all alleged, so nobody knows for sure. But obviously, the Hollywood Reporter did some digging, and I would not doubt it if it's true, because like I said, excuse me, before, these whole rumblings were going on for a good month and a half. For a good while, a lot of people have been talking, and it just finally seems that names are actually getting put out into the world. And I would not doubt it in my mind for a second that this turns out to be true, because who else? You know what I mean?
It's one thing. I can't even say it's one thing. It's plotting something like this against your own flesh and blood, let alone your father, is just heinous in itself. But when you're plotting something like this against someone who's not only your father, but who's also a genuine, bona fide, beloved, world-renowned, world-loved icon and legend, is a whole other can of worms. I mean, there are very few people I can think of in this world where you could go to any country and, stop 10 people and ask them if they knew who Stan Lee was. And I would say probably about half of them would say yes. Stan Lee is just that recognizable of a name and of a person from what he's done and what he's created since, I don't know, the 50s?
Yeah, for a long time.
I mean, the guy's 95, and he's the closest thing we're ever going to get to a true icon again. There's very few people I can think of. Frank Sinatra, icon, legend. Michael Jackson, icon, legend. Michael Jordan, icon, legend. Stan Lee.
Yeah, there's not too many out there, and it's crazy to me that we're speaking so passionately about this, and he's not our father. You know what I mean? He gave us some entertainment. He gave us some silly books to read growing up, and toys to collect, and movies to eventually watch. And
he gave us escapes.
Exactly. And the person he gave life to doesn't respect him nearly as much as we do. Like, what the fuck?
So, you know what? I was kind of upset and a little distraught after our Comic-Con meeting with Stan Lee. But after reading this, I kind of was wondering if, maybe this was one of those appearances that he really didn't want to do.
Well, if you remember, that was supposed to be his last East Coast Comic-Con.
Yes.
And after that, I was hearing rumblings that it was going to be wrapped up entirely. And when was that? 2-3 years ago?
2 years ago. It wasn't last Comic-Con because I didn't. It was the Comic-Con before that.
All right, so it was 2 years ago, and here he is still doing all these appearances.
They're they're much, much smaller and much more limited.
Oh, I know they're much smaller, but he's 95. He just got over a bout of pneumonia, and he went to Arizona or something like a week or two ago. Don't quote me on which Comic-Con he was at, but I know for a fact that he was at one. It was even said in the article that another article I read that fans from that Comic-Con were excited to meet him, but he was clearly still really weathered down. He was not his spry self like usual. He was a lot more I guess more sluggish than he usually is. And I know he's 95, but at the same time, it just seems like that was a little too soon for him to be hitting the con circuit again.
Yeah. And you know what? Stress and any type of shit that he's going through.
Depression too. Like his wife Like I hear he's completely distraught over that. It's still affecting him to this day, and I imagine it will. He was with her for Lord knows how long.
I think almost half a century.
Yeah, like it was certainly up there, and
Half
to
a
lose that partner,
century. That's
I know.
50 years to be with one person.
I know,
Man,
and it's
cheers to
like
that.
fucking a. But it's I don't know. I can't even fathom how you would put somebody through this. So somebody so beloved, so much, somebody that's so gentle and an amazing person. Like I've met him in the short amount of time that I've gotten to speak with him. He was just a very lovable person, and from everything you see over the years and read about, I remember reading, like in the back of the comics when you read the little ask questions or something like that, the question section, they'd always have like, maybe Stan Lee would appear in there and answer a question, or Stan Lee would write a forward or closing or something like that, and just like the amount of stuff that he's given the world since then. How do you do that to somebody like that?
Yeah, and it's like when you look at him at more of a on a more of a human level and grandpa level. He's the kind of guy you'd go up to like any grandpa, and you would expect him to reach into his pocket and pull out a root beer barrel candy or a fucking Werther's original.
Yeah, exactly.
Just stupid shit like that.
Let me see if I got something for you, Sonny. He pulls out a quarter. Don't spend it all in one place.
It just makes me remember my grandfather, because that'd be something whenever I would see my grandfather, he would always go into his pocket and he'd always pull out a wrapped up root beer barrel candy for me. I love that. I haven't had a root beer barrel candy since my grandfather died, just because they just remind me of him so much.
I hear
And
ya.
and seeing Stan Lee, like that's what I picture. If him as like a grandfather, him reaching into his pocket and pulling out root beer barrels and Werther's originals, and
I know,
just
we're romanticizing him a little bit, but at the same time, strip away all of that, strip away all of his creations and everything. He's still a human being, and at that age, he still deserves respect, and to not be taken advantage of, especially by his own flesh and blood and people that have been working with him for years. Um, it's downright despicable to like even consider treating somebody like that, let alone going through with the act. And there's not much more you could say on that. Like it's horrible.
yeah, agreed. So again tonight, in the interest of time, because this is something we could keep talking about for another hour, I just posted a link to the article in the chat. For anybody listening to this afterwards, please go to thehollywoodreporter.com and find this article. Familiarize yourself. Sorry, a lot of beer tonight. With this article, with this situation.
And you know what? So I don't mean to cut you off. Send him a tweet. You know what I mean? Like send him a Facebook a post or something. I know he does read those, where he has people read them to him. Maybe all it takes to lighten up his day is a fan showing support, knowing that there's some people out there that do care.
Yeah, it's just read this story, please. Know that this is a real thing happening to him, to a living legend and icon. Very few of these type of people exist right now. So, and this dude is 95. He is not long to be with us. As fans of his, we want him to live forever, obviously. But we're realists, and we know that's not possible. So read this, know what's going on with him. Maybe at some point there'll be something that we as fans can do to help him, and it will be a lot easier for us when knowing the whole truth. And reading this article is definitely the best way to start knowing the whole truth. I can't really formulate the words properly right now, but I feel like there's going to be a time in the next year or so that fans are going to have to step in to help in some way. So give the article a read. It is very well worth it. It is upsetting. It is heartbreaking. But if you are a fan of Stan Lee, you need to read it.
Well said.
All right. So we're just about at the 2-hour mark, and it has been a fun and, real episode this week. So we are going to go ahead and start signing off.
It's got a death curse.
What do you got for us this week?
Well, I don't have many shout outs, but I like jumping off the Stan Lee thing. I wanted to give a shout out to Kevin Smith because amidst all this Stan Lee elder abuse and everything that we just spoke about, like he's one of the many supporters that have been speaking out against this and all that, and he flat out offered Stan Lee to move in with him if amidst all this, and trying to make sure that somebody that he feels as passionately as we do is not being taken advantage of. So like he's reached out on Twitter and said, like, if you need a place to stay, absolutely come live with me, and we're going to make sure that you're not miserable as a result. I don't have the exact tweet in front of me, but that's the general gist of what he was putting out there into the world. And I think that takes a lot. I know it's easier for somebody in Hollywood to say something like that, but having been a Kevin Smith fan for a really long time, Kevin Smith seems like one of us that just happened to make it. And of course, he would offer that to one of his living legend pals. You know what I mean? I think it's amazing to me.
Wow. If Stan Lee takes him up on that offer, that means Stan Lee goes from West Coast to East Coast.
Well, no, Smith is living in Hollywood.
Is he really? That's
yeah, he's been for years. But that would be awesome, right?
That's
maybe we'll see, Stan Lee in Clerks 3. You never know. But regardless of all that, I think
he was already in Mallrats, so
yeah, I want to see him in other things. He was supposed to be in Mallrats too, as well.
Yeah,
maybe Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back 2. God, he needs to start making his sequels already. I'm more
seriously.
Movies. But in any case, I think that was really fucking cool for him to do. And some people say it's a publicity stunt and shit like that. But like, if you know anything about Kevin Smith, he is literally a geek just like all of us. And of course, he wants to make sure that Stan's not being fucking taken advantage of. So I think that's really cool of him. Second shout out, I guess, is going to be a little more self-serving. We did another Twitch stream this week, which went pretty fun. We didn't have as many viewers as we did the first week, but we chalked that up to a lot of people playing Friday the 13th. We decided to play Friday the 13th this week in celebration of Friday the 13th on Friday. So me and Brandon got on there and played some matches. Like, Brandon was Jason for like 3 or 4 times, which is pretty crazy in a 2-hour span. But we had a lot of fun. You could go back and watch the playback if you want to. Our website, or the link for it's twitch.tv/Dead Entertainment site. And I don't necessarily know what we're going to be streaming next week. And I say we as in the site. I'm going to hang out in the chat. I'm not going to be always part of the stream. That's Brandon's thing. But definitely, if you haven't checked out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Dead Entertainment site, go and follow us. Check us out Mondays, every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. What about you?
I don't know. I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks that I'm going to have all my shout outs and plugs and shit in a nice format in front of me, and there's nothing in front of me.
You sound like me now.
Obviously, quick shout outs, friends over at Fright Rags, friends over at Great Matter Art. Yeah, you know that spiel. Friday is my special Friday the 13th stream. Right now, the plans are we are going to watch live. I'm going to stream Friday the 13th Part 4 The Final Chapter, my favorite film in the franchise. We're going to watch that all together and just have fun, bullshit. I'll be doing, picking the giveaway winner. And we'll probably end up ending the night on some Friday the 13th gameplay. It's very possible that the devs release some type of update on Friday, but they still haven't said anything about that, so maybe not. But we might still just end the night on it anyway. But we're definitely going to do a movie, bullshit, and, you know, it should be a good time. It's not going to be another 7-hour stream like last time.
You say that now. We'll see.
And then we are about 2 weeks out from Chiller Theater and East Coast Comic Con. I don't know what I'm doing for either yet. I could get a pre-show ticket for Chiller Theater for Friday from my buddy, Horror Movie BBQ. He's got an extra pre-show ticket. So I might go hang out with him for a little bit, go pre-show, maybe meet 1 or 2 people, get something signed. But I mean, it's like the guest list isn't all that great, and I don't know, I'm considering it. And then I'm also considering doing East Coast Comic Con on that Saturday, just because I've been wanting to do that for a while.
That's near me, isn't it?
No, Chiller Theater's near you. Chiller Theater.
Oh, I thought East Coast was
No.
near me.
No, East Coast. That's at Meadowlands Convention Center.
Okay, right on. There is a comic book convention that does come up by me, and I wasn't sure if it was that one or not.
Yeah, no, this one's in East Rutherford.
I'm leaning more towards East Coast Comic Con just because me and you don't do enough Comic Cons. You know, not the big ones, but local conventions. I think we need to do more of that. Chiller is completely lackluster like usual. There's maybe like 1 or 2 people I want to meet, and even then, do I want to dip into my other check for that? I don't know.
Yeah, I only want to go for the vendors, to hang out with Horror Movie BBQ, and to maybe get my new Airheads poster signed by Ernie Hudson. That's about it.
Nice.
That's about it. But yeah, I think that's all I can think of right now. Friday.
Hey, giveaway.
Yes, the giveaway is going to be fun. The prize has still not been revealed. The prize will be revealed on Friday's stream.
I gotta say, this motherfucker right here is stingy as hell. He won't even tell me. Okay? So.
Yeah, nobody else knows.
I'm gonna make him
People
tell me
have
after
seen
the
it.
stream.
People I know have seen the prize. They just don't know that that's the prize.
I have a feeling I know what it is, and I think it's really close to you right now, but I'm not going to say what it is until after we get off the air.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but sure. So yeah, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on this very long but special episode. I don't know why it was special. I guess because it was long. That makes it special.
We had a good conversation about many of things.
Yes, that. So we will see you guys again next week, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. We were actually on time this week. Fucking on time. That's why this episode was special. We were on time.
Yes, exactly. And I slept an extra half hour, so I don't know how the hell I pulled that off.
Yeah, and you sound more lively, more spry, and
maybe not next week. We'll see.
But anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you follow us here. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Check us out on Twitter at WhaleLifeNet. Check out myself on Twitter at Bates_MotelMT, and then Mungus over on Twitter as well at Ray Mungus. I don't even care to plug the other 2 because they're never here.
Yeah, fuck them.
You can find us on Facebook, WhaleLifeNet, and make sure you check out deadentertainment.com to see the stuff that I sometimes write.
I write once in a while. I mean, I do the social media posts. They're pretty cool. Now I got to get back to it. We're going to be doing some fun stuff coming up as far as articles go. So check out Friday articles. We're going to have a lot of Friday the 13th content. So check it out, deadentertainment.com.
Yeah, I'm trying to get together 1 or 2 Friday pieces. I don't know if I'm going to make it happen with my current work schedule. We just bought out another bank.
That's fine because we're celebrating Friday the 13th all month over there. So if it doesn't happen on this Friday, we might have some going into the next few weeks. I know I'm going to have an article released next week about my very first Friday the 13th convention. Well, horror convention, that was a Friday the 13th reunion. So check that out next week. Bates might have a couple articles in the coming weeks and, celebrate with us Friday the 13th all month.
Yes. So again, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We will see you all next week, same time, same place, and then maybe some of you on Friday night. That should be a good time. So thank you guys one more time, and remember.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.